Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
Holy smokes, we have a great show today, like normal, but we're joined with
always amazing.
It's always every show because we're here with an awesome guest. We have Nicole Espinosa with us, but before we get into who Nicole is, Nicole, I've got to ask you a question. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like, oh my Lord, already?
No,
2 seconds into it.
I'm not going to do it. But if you're watching this on Facebook, leave us some comments. Let's get some engagement because Nicole is, she's amazing. Like, she's the author of the Short Sales Uncensored. They're processing 90 to 100 short sales a month. And we're going to be talking about building your business around a niche. But again, if you're watching this live, just type a comment down below. Whatever you're feeling right now, just
you're feeling, that's dangerous.
What's going on with you guys?
Yeah, just type. How's your day going? Drop a comment down below. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and do it. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And on iTunes, we really need more reviews, please. So the goal is to get to 50 reviews on that. And then 2 more housekeeping items. If you're not part of our only Facebook group worth being a part of, go and join that.
Is that the name of it, or did you just like totally fuck that up?
No, that's
only
the name.
real estate group worth being a part of.
Yeah.
Is that right?
The only
right.
the only Facebook group.
No,
it's not the only.
No,
That's
you
my
did
whole
get it
point.
wrong.
You said it
See,
wrong.
yeah, I'm sorry, guys. It's the only
Can you
real.
plug your own shit?
It's the
Oh my Lord.
the only real estate group worth being a part of.
I think that's what I said. Well,
You said I did.
Well,
I
good
don't
thing this is
know.
on video, so I
Yeah.
can prove you wrong in an hour
let's,
and a half.
Let's instant replay this,
So,
please.
yeah, somebody comment if Nick got it right the first time.
And
Run it
then
back, Derek.
you're gonna want to sign up for this. So we'll be releasing a coming soon on how to take 10 plus listings every month. You'll want to sign up for that. So go in that group and then share, like, love, and comment on this. But let's get back to building your business around the niche. So welcome, Nicole.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Who are you?
Who am I? I thought I was going to be introduced.
No, yeah, hold on. You can read this.
read this
If you
paper
have-
about
if you're
yourself.
confused about who
I
you are.
am Nicole.
I'm just kidding, Nick. You read it.
So, again, Nicole is the author of the Short Sales Uncensored, and she's the owner of the Short Sale Queen. So Nicole and her team process anywhere between 90 to 100 short sales a month. While others still steer away from these difficult transactions, Nicole has made a name for herself as the Short Sale Queen in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so now her company is going nationwide. So I'm not going to read the rest of this.
Yeah, I was like, it's okay.
Yeah, I ran it down to her office the other day because I was calling expires, and the guy was like,
Literally.
"I'm probably going to have to short sale it." And so I went to her office,
And
like,
on
"Hey, I
you.
got this lead for you."
I'm like, okay.
And,
hold on one
and
second.
Elizabeth Austin just referred you over a short sale, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's jump into this again.
Yeah.
Leave some comments down below if you have a question for Nicole about short sales or why she decided to build her business
I think
around.
that's the bigger part is and that's probably a great place to start. Short sales, traditionally, just percentage-wise, not a huge sector of the market. How did you get involved in such a specific niche? How did you get involved in the first place, and how have you exploded a business around something that's such a small percentage of the market?
Well, I started when it was all foreclosures. So I started in 2009, and I actually fell into real estate. So, I know some people are passionate about everything. I'm like, no, I became passionate about it, but it was an accident. It was just, I moved from Florida. I wasn't here originally, and I was assisting the broker who, at the time, was one of the biggest REO brokers in DFW. And I hated that job. Like, it was the worst job I ever had. And we were working for the banks. So I was managing 100 to 150 foreclosures a month. And so I really started understanding how it worked, right, with the asset managers, understanding how the banks worked and operated. And then when I decided, I was like, this is not for me, because I was in charge of everything, the evictions, the BPOs that we were managing. And it was really tough because we were getting calls, people on the street. It was horrible. And so it's actually full circle because I'm at KW now, and I got licensed, and I saw this big building that we're in now on Preston Road. And I was like, oh, a real estate office. I got my license, like complete ignorance. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I just knew that I had all this knowledge. I didn't want to work for the banks. Didn't have no idea what a short sale was. And worked with a couple buyers. My first listing was a short sale.
Okay.
So I remember at the time, the agents were like, don't even mess with it. Like, it's not going to close. It's not worth your time.
Right.
And all I knew was I've always been solution oriented, like trying to figure out, okay, well, there's got to be a way to do this. And so I figured it out. And I mean, I don't know if I really figured it out. I got it closed, but but I was so intrigued. I was like, okay, no one really understands.
Yeah.
You know, he needs help. I know it's going to happen after he gets foreclosed on, but I didn't understand. So anyways, so long story short, I decided to really market for that. Really spent a lot of time that first year developing the process that I do now. And I don't think that I really became the quote unquote expert until years later.
Yeah.
I mean, really, because I spent, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of transactions later of just learning like, oh, okay, this worked, or no, this didn't work, or I can do this, or whatever. So, and then I honestly, consistency, like with anything else, just sticking to the same thing. I mean, I get calls still to this day, like full circle in 2009, like, oh, I met you at this class or whatever, and you're still doing it. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, right? Like knowing that, oh, wow, she's still doing short sales. And so it's just building that reputation.
I love this conversation just because I think there's so many new agents or agents in general who don't have a niche. They have no idea what they're going to do. They don't know which direction to go. And then on top of it, they're being fed a line of bullshit that there is like this specific way that they can go. And in reality, for all of us, because I think we're going to get into this a little bit today about what we all kind of excel at, it was an accident. Yeah. For me, the agent-to-agent referral things was an accident. Right? Yeah. Like I didn't know. I just was spending way too much goddamn time on Facebook. And so I figured out some way to monetize.
He's like, yeah, I made something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what a lot of agents need to hear. Like none of us had any clue what we were doing, right? You were hundreds of transactions in probably before you felt comfortable.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Yeah, for sure. So I think a lot of us just
I'm not really good bullshitter, like in the sense of like, oh, I'm amazing. Like, I'm not good at that. So I was like, okay, wait until I know 100%. And I was so confident in what I'm saying until I started teaching classes. And I actually, before I even wrote my book, I was teaching a 2-hour class that I wrote on short sales. And it was about educating because, and Nick did short sales, so he understands that people still to this day have no clue.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea.
And the problem was just that the actual professionals were telling the sellers, I can't help you. Like, sorry, you're screwed.
Well, so why? And this transcends the short sale sector, I think. But this is an attitude that drives me crazy about any entrepreneur, really, but real estate professionals.
Let's pick on the real estate agents.
Right? Yeah, we'll stick with just those
with
people
the
I hate.
realtors.
Right?
Everybody's getting dumped on agents today.
No, I mean when you first approach this is a transaction like any other. It's completely different in the way, in the mechanics and the moving parts and how it all goes about. But it's not something that anybody can't learn. Right. But when you first got into the business, people were like, "Oh, stay away from short sales. Like that's too complicated." This, that. Why is it that agents are so bad at tackling new things? Like why are people avoiding short sales?
I think it's ignorance. I think it's effort. I think it's a lot of misconceptions, but it's also a lot of hard work. And let's be real, we can barely get agents to do the minimum anyway.
Yeah.
No, so, we got in this business because it's easy money, right?
Yeah.
They didn't want my own
easy
boss.
Money.
They didn't have to do that real work of actually taking. I mean, what's the average turn time for a short sale?
For us, the average is 2 to 3 months, but the industry standards is a year if it gets closed.
Yeah. So who wants to put a year's worth of work in to maybe get paid?
Yeah. That's the key, right? Because I always tell agents, so like I remember my biggest competition as far as referrals, because I don't market to sellers. I get 100% referral. And I remember my biggest competition was the title companies that were processing them, or them just saying, oh, I have a listing. No, I got a listing. And I'm like, well, what's 3% of zero?
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, you're negative at that point because you're spending all your time and money and it never gets closed.
Yep.
To me, the difficult thing about short sales too is the emotional side of it. Like you're not meeting people at the greatest point of their existence, right? They may be mad, they're embarrassed, they're broke.
Yeah.
Right. I've been all those things. And I certainly would not have wanted somebody to come along and be like, hey, I also know what's going on in your personal financial life, and I'm here to help you, right? Like, I don't know how these leads come to you.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a specific personality to work those type of leads as well.
Yeah, well, clearly I'm very shy.
Obviously.
So I'm just playing. But no, it works really well because I'm a big believer in any transaction that you facilitate, you need to drive the bus. And I say that all the time because you're the professional. And if you're not, then it drives me crazy when agents are like, well, that's what my client said. Well, that's because you didn't educate them. They don't know. They don't know what they don't know. That's our job. Oh my God, it drives me crazy. But specifically, with these clients, like it's so important. I mean, honestly, the hardest part about the short sale is not the bank.
Yeah.
It's the seller.
Yeah.
Because the seller has the power to cancel at any time. The seller has the power to just disappear. Yeah. And so if you don't know how to manage them and their expectations, it's going to be a nightmare.
And so how do you, I mean, that's huge. We all had to pause there. I think that's so, I think that's so relevant in all of our lives right now, just dealing with agents and team members and just on a day-to-day basis, right? Yeah. How do you, I would imagine that the sellers in a short sale are probably some of the most renegade people on earth when it comes to just a real estate transaction because they're going through an incredibly stressful time. Incredibly stressful process. Their emotions are running high. We have problems with a regular general transaction with agents not being good professionals, being good fiduciaries, right? We've had all sorts of situations. And this is just a little advice for anybody watching, listening, right? You are a fiduciary to your clients, but keep in mind your clients hired you for a reason. Your clients are not always right. You can give them advice every once in a while, right? And keep them from themselves. That's just a little 2 cents for anybody watching.
To add to that, I mean, if you're not, it's your fault.
Absolutely. It is 100%.
So if they hired you to be the professional and you're so caught up with this is what they want, well, they don't know what they want.
Yeah. If you're letting them make the mistakes that they're making, then it's your fault. Right. How do you communicate with a seller in a short sale and somebody that's going through a really, really difficult emotional time? How do you keep them from? I
was like, can you help me share this?
We're like so obviously doing other things when the camera isn't on us. I love it. No, how do you keep the sellers from themselves? Right? How does that line of communication work?
Well, if I was recorded about an hour ago,
it would involve cuss words.
Yeah, my office is my safe haven.
There you go.
So you need to knock before you come in. No, but honestly, if I cannot get you on board in the sense of setting your expectations and us on the same page, I probably won't even take the listing.
Yeah.
Because in my career, so like anybody else, when you're hungry and you're driven, you'll do anything, right? We're like, okay. Who cares? I don't care if it's a 10,000, 20,000, 100, whatever. And I would just do everything. And those sellers that we weren't on the same page, they would be 10 times more work. Mm-hmm. They would drive me crazy, like, everything, complicate the transaction, and it was so much energy. And so at that point, if we cannot get on the same page, then I won't even take you on. And I'll tell them, I'm like, look, I'm here to help. And it's a lot of it's changing their perspective because in my book, I talk about there are 3 motivating factors: time, credit, or money. Yep. And those are so important to identify what's motivating them to sell, right? It could be the same in traditional. Yep. Because if you talk to them and try to sell them on what you think is important instead of what they think is important,
it's going to fall flat. Yep.
You could talk them out of it.
Oh, that's so relevant. Yep.
It is. And so a lot of people, they try to be these salespeople, like, I know better or whatever. No, like, you are literally talking them out of it.
Yep.
So shut up.
Yep.
This is great advice.
Yeah.
Shut up. And then let them tell you what their pain points are.
Yep.
And at that point, once you talk to them, then you know how to combat, those issues and things like that. And then, but don't get me wrong. I mean, there's still a percentage of people that I'm like, you're off your rocker. Like, you're out of your damn mind. You've been behind for 80 months. And this is not as specific what I just talked to today. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know it sucks. But my credit, I'm like, I know it's what happens when you don't pay for 80 months.
But you lived there for free for 80 months.
Yeah, right?
She's like
What a deal.
so pissed right now that we have not sold the house. I'm like, you do realize what's going on, right?
Yeah, like you're not paying a mortgage.
You do realize what's going on, right? Like, it's not us. And so, I was just in a mood today. I can hear her yelling at my assistant, and I'm like, that's my biggest pet peeve, where at this point, I'm just like, we're the messenger. Like, you do not beat us up. We're here to help. And I tell her, I'm like, this is a bad business model. I'm not even charging you.
Yeah.
So I need to charge you. You know what I mean? And so I kind of just at that point changed. That's how I handle it.
Yeah.
Is changing their perspective.
So walk us through, you got into short sales, and then, there was a lot during the time that you really started focusing on it, right? And then all of a sudden
it's the market, everybody was doing it.
Yes, everyone was doing it, but they weren't doing it well, right?
No.
I mean, I did it decent, but I mean nowhere near like what you and some of the others were doing.
Right.
That I looked up to at the time. But let's walk us through. Market gets better.
Yeah.
Did your business drop off?
It did, but at that point, like I remember a time, 2015, 2014, things started really picking up here locally in DFW. And at that point when my phone wasn't ringing, it was like, who do I still need to talk to? Yeah. So the hard part about scaling your business when it's a relationship business is it's hard to monetize, right? Because when you do cold calling, you can say, okay, I can make this many calls and then I know I might have this many, leads or whatever. But when it's a relationship, you just have to have your phone ring.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, it was like, okay, I need to get out there more. I need to figure out who I'm supposed to be building relationships with. So at that time it was, okay, I need to get in front of more realtors. I need to do more education. I need to, talk to more investors. And so that's why I really dove in. I mean, a lot of the creativity of marketing was out of desperation because my phone wasn't ringing. And I was like, I had so much anxiety, now I can't get it to stop.
Did you consider pivoting and going into more traditional, or was it, all right, I'm going to go full force into this? Because, we look at the REO agents, right? And the REO agents,
they're all gone.
They're hurting, right? I mean, we had
100%.
We had a HUD account agent that came from Las Vegas, and they were driving a badass car at the time.
Killing it for a while.
And I'm like,
yeah,
holy
Vegas.
shit! Like, I need to get a HUD account, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, and they've had this account since the 80s.
Yep.
And it's like, and then it dried up, and they didn't know what else to do. So, did you consider going the traditional, like just like closing those doors up and saying it's not worth it, or?
So I was blessed in the sense that I have always gotten the referrals, but the only time I ever wanted to quit was because I couldn't figure out the systems.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, it had nothing to do because I've always been really passionate about what I'm doing, and I feel like that's huge in whatever niche you decide to do because we can all make money. Money is always going to come. But if you're not passionate about it, you're going to burn out and it's not going to make sense anymore. I mean, you can't ever do anything just for money. And so for me, it was a challenge and I loved that. It wasn't just, put the house on the market, we'll see what happens or whatever.
Right.
It was always this constantly evolving thing. And so I never wanted to quit when things went down. It was more when I started scaling of, can I say fuck?
Oh,
Yeah.
Can I say fuck
She
shit?
obviously has not watched the show.
Okay,
yeah.
I have, but
Have we
anyways.
even met?
She hasn't caught us.
Okay, wait, sorry. I'm like on a different show, so I'm like, some people prep me. Anyways, whatever. So, but at one point I was like, fuck this, because I was so burnt out because I was closing so much. And see, the thing is that we're 3 to 4 months out, right? So all of the work is in the beginning. And since you can't really predict closing dates, and we're not like, put it under contract 30 days, it's when the bank approves it. Yeah. It's hard to monetize. So if we want to talk about the business aspect of running it, it was exhausting because I could have 10 approvals this week and I could have none because the BPO came back too high or this happened or this happened. And so it was exhausting because I would have all of these listings and I couldn't close them. Yeah. And so that was the only time where it was just like, oh, is this shit worth it? Like I love doing it. So once I started figuring out how to really cut down our processing time and spend a lot of freaking money hiring the wrong people and, not sleeping and all that, it's gotten so much better as we scaled.
What's that process look like? Because I think that what you're saying is very relevant to the traditional side.
Absolutely.
Like the people that are listening that are building their own traditional businesses. Yeah. Can find a lot of lessons in there, but there have to be retrofitted for their business. Yeah. Hiring the wrong people. What does that look like, and how has your process changed?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I could do a whole other show on that.
We're only 17 minutes in.
But hiring for me has always been a pain point for me because I am a horrible manager. I'm a great leader, but I'm a horrible manager. And so because I am a salesperson, and we kind of talked about this yesterday, I do not think structure. I think get it done. Yeah. Right. So it's going to be sloppy. It's going to be a mess, but I'm freaking getting it done. And so a lot of it was not hiring people that, because I don't think it was ego based, but I think it was, I can just do it. I'll do it myself kind of mentality. Yeah. And so just hiring people that weren't complementing the things that I was lacking. And I think in any business as an entrepreneur, it's so incredibly important to identify what you suck at.
Yeah.
Like we're always so great at saying, we're really good at this. I can close this person. I've got this. But we're terrible at being like, I suck at this. I suck at this. And I don't know if it's an ego thing. I don't know. And so for me, it was just completely failing, like drowning, like, you know, oh, wow, Nicole's doing so good, but I'm so burnt out. And I'm still, even though I have bodies in my office, I am still like, hey, so what are you doing here? Hey, so what are you doing here? And I'm still involved. Yeah. Which the idea is, you know, get out, because that's the whole point of hiring them, you know? And I actually met with Nick when at that point, because I was like, okay, I'm either going to drop this part of my business or do this or whatever. And a lot of it, he said, he was like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because I have to do it. Yeah. And he's like, no, why are you doing this? Why are you going on listing appointments? I'm like, because I'm it. I got to do listing appointments.
You didn't even have signs in the yard.
No, are you kidding me? I was just like, come on. So it was getting over myself.
Yeah. And I think that that's huge. I think that one of the biggest mistakes that people make when in the hiring process is, I mean, you want to leverage out as much of the task-oriented stuff as you possibly can. My personal philosophy is you want to start with the things that you're worst at and stop trying to be better at them. Just embrace your weaknesses and leverage your strengths. We're doing this with Matt right now. We're in the process. We've been through a bunch of candidates to hire Matt's executive assistant, and we've had to turn people down. People who are great and would have been great for somebody else, but Matt is basically saying, I'm not even good enough of this stuff to give you the resources you need to even be good at. Like, I'm such a mess. I need somebody that really complements the things that I'm really bad at. We've had to turn down some really, really good candidates because they wouldn't be the right fit for us, specifically because there's a fit that needs to be there to complement all of the things that Matt lacks. And that's not an indictment. That's just
and it's a lot.
And I'll tell you what, it is a ton. We were talking about it yesterday, but you brought it up, and I hope everybody heard that. Like, the part of this that all four of us went through that always floors us that other people can't figure out is that grind time, right? The exhaustion where you don't have any idea what to do, and you just keep waking up every morning and doing all that shit. That truly is the difference between us and the other 96% of real estate agents who flunk out of this thing.
We keep going.
Every single one of us has that story where it's like, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was kind of broke, and I was kind of getting ready to quit, and I just didn't quit that day. Right? I think all of us have that exact same story.
I say either we're too dumb to realize that we should have quit.
It could be that too.
Or too stubborn.
Too stubborn.
I would take the stubborn over dumb.
Well, I mean, I think it's probably both, right? I mean, if you go back and really look at like, I mean, being broke and you know, in my world, the cost of marriage and everything else, I'm like, it's dumb. But at the same time, it's stubbornness because we don't want to fail. Right? And then, you know, what were we talking about? Was it with you? I was talking to somebody about, maybe it was today, about, you know, Google should be, as another agent in our office today, about Google should be your best friend. Right?
I had this conversation, so I don't know if I was involved, but I totally agree.
You know, where people come and ask you a question, I'm like, did you Google that? I mean, like, you think, I'm not Google, right? I respect that you look up to me that much, but go online for a freaking phone number.
Because all I'm doing is Googling it when you ask me.
But like, or can we just talk about the fact that it took just as much freaking effort for them to go to you, as it does to pick up your freaking phone and take some, you know, whatever it's called. What am I talking about? Initiative. Oh my God. I'm like, what's that word? Take some initiative to do it yourself. Like, it blows my mind.
And I think I'm so different than you guys. I'm like, I look at people asking questions like, it's because they respect my knowledge and they think I know what it's called.
He's flattered, so we know now. We know now.
Look, words of affirmation. That's my love language. You scratch me behind the ear and be like, good boy. And follow you around like an idiot.
We're like, you dumbass. Why are you asking us? And he's like, oh, thank you.
I took the test at the back of that book. I can't remember what my love language was. I know what it's not. That's being touched. That's my opposite.
Mine's acts of
service.
If
you touch me, I will be very upset.
Mine is quality time. So, you know, I don't give me gifts. That means it costs money.
That's his anti-love language.
From Amazon, the box shows up.
But it also doesn't take any effort to buy gifts. So I'm right there with you.
Yes and no. I mean, it's the thoughtfulness of a gift that they really listen. But that's a different topic altogether.
We won't go in there.
So tell me, all right, how long did it take you to realize that you sucked at all those things that you sucked at?
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't overnight.
Varying levels of recognition.
Years. Yeah. To be frank, I feel like I'm still learning. I mean, I feel like I'm just now coming into my own, and it's been 9 years.
Right. So
it wasn't until I can't remember what I did yesterday. So hold on. I think it was like a couple years ago that probably 2017 towards the 2018 where I was like, I've got to do something different. Like, I'm so burnt out.
Yeah.
I got to that point where I was doing like 30 to 40 listings a month. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I knew, I always had the vision. I always knew what I wanted, but I had no idea how to freaking get there. Yeah. And even now to this day, there were so many habits where everything's up here. And when I'm scaling, you know, you have like 2 or 3 different people now that are trying to do it. And they're like, Nicole, what about this? I'm like, oh shit. Like, because I was so used to it, just remembering everything and knowing everything and not having to really, I don't want to say be accountable, but like be able to have to give them that information. And so it took a while. And then finally, when I made the switch to where I'm at now at Keller Williams, it was the most humbling thing ever, because it was like, okay, I started from scratch. I literally fired my entire staff.
I remember that day.
That's rough.
Oh my gosh. Realized I had high blood pressure and really just dove in, and I was like, okay, like I gave myself a timeline. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this and give it my all. And I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to create good habits and systems. And if I don't do this, then I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, this is my last ditch effort. And then, yeah, I mean, just slowly but surely. And a big, huge thing with hiring that's been just this aha moment was how different it is now when I'm so clear and intentional with my hires.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about, yes, personality test, yes, or whatever, but it was like, okay, I had to lay out specifically what I was looking for. I was so focused on what I didn't want that I didn't know what I did want. I mean, I didn't know really what I was lacking or missing. And so when I did that, and it was a lot of, you know, talking to people like Nick and talking to Tommy and meeting with him and talking to people that think the exact opposite of me, reading books that were the exact opposite of how I think, and like really diving in. And it was painful because that bores the hell out of me. Like, I don't give a shit what Infusionsoft does. Like, I don't care. Like, just do it. But I had to get over myself and be like, okay, you've got to figure this out so that way you don't have to worry about it. And it's been a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I think that the lesson to take away there is that, I mean, going back to what Matt said before, like a lot of individual agents and people like just get into the business, they go like, you know, I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start, right? Like, guess what? Like, that feeling never goes away, right? Like, I feel that every single day, right? It's not about knowing what to do all the time. It's about just taking the leap and having the consistency. I promise you'll figure it out, right? Like, in our business now, when we first started, every single one of us, when we started our teams, our businesses, we had no idea what we were doing. But through hiring, through failure, through firing, right? Through loss, through success and failure and all that type of stuff, right? Like, we're able to pinpoint exactly what our businesses are missing now. But that didn't start out that way, like, at all. Like, we know for sure who our next hire is going to be, because it's the stuff that's not part of our 20% right now, but that we're good enough that we can train somebody on, but we would like to get it off our plate. This show is a perfect example. We started this because we're like, you guys want to do a show or something? Like, what are you guys doing on Wednesday?
I can totally see that. I can totally see that.
We started filming this in a dude's garage, like on a whim, and we were drinking the whole time, right? Like, we had no idea.
Now everybody go back to their first show.
Yeah,
and
right?
now see
Go
how you
watch
view
the
it.
first show. We had no idea what we were doing. And even nowadays, right? We've already hired one person to unload a lot of our stuff. Derek's crushing it. Look at him.
With one hand.
We got a real producer. Yeah, he's injured today, still killing it. And here's the thing. Even now, what we're doing to go forward, there's a lot of stuff that all three of us are doing individually right now that we've already identified as important, but probably not dollar productive activities that are part of our top 20%. So we already know those are the next things that we need to hire out, right? It did not start that way. And if you'd asked us on day one, like, who's the people you need to put in place to really make this thing work? We'd be like, we don't even know what this thing is yet. We can't even tell you, but we're not going to stop. You know, it's the same with the real estate business. But whether you're brand new or you're running a team, that feeling won't go away, but you'll get better at it.
It's like Nicole's business, our business, my business, and even the show. Like, we started out in a dude's garage, which was somewhat professional, right? Then
it wasn't like a terrible garage.
We took a step back.
As far as garages go, it was pretty good.
It was a nice
garage.
Then we stepped backwards and did Be Live, which fucking sucked.
Fucking sucks. Never had reception.
That was awful. You get grainy. That's like a bad porn video.
I was trying to do it from a cruise ship that one time in Alaska, and I was just like a freeze frame of my face and just like
and then
nonsense.
we made the commitment. We're either we're going to cut this out or we're going to go all in. And so it's the same thing in our businesses. Like you know, I wanted to quit. Some days I'd want to quit every day, but it's like, all right, what are we going to do to pivot in order to grow? right? You come out of the gate strong, and then all of a sudden you run out of people, your sphere, and you're like, oh, who else am I going to sell to? Well, then go lead generate, right? And then you got to figure that out. So everything is a learning game. I mean, with that, what you just said is you were going to figure out how to do it, and then look at it now. I mean, not just the book. I mean, the book's cool, right? But you also you're continuing to grow it. And that was one of the questions I asked is how can you scale this? If you remember, before you even joined KW, I said, how can you scale this nationally? And that's what you're starting to do now.
Are you trying to take credit?
A little bit.
Like, did you just set yourself up for
Don't
that?
just say it was completely his idea, but
yes, you're right, Nick.
Oh my Lord. Some things never change. But no, I mean, I totally agree with you. And I think the other key thing for me that was a game changer when I was figuring out how to scaling was literally just sitting and listening to people like yourself. And I remember I went to Houston for Lance's team and really just learning. And what he said to your point earlier, that at every level, everyone still feels like they haven't had it figured out.
Yep.
And that was I had such a level of comfort after really listening to these top teams that were doing 100 million, 75 million or whatever, that it was still a shit show, but a shit show on their level.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is normal. Like, yes. Yep. So it was just understanding that you're always going to continue to have growing pains. I don't know how to just stay in one space. I still have a vision that's even bigger than what it is now. And so understanding that, just accepting it.
Yeah.
Like every day there's going to be new fires.
Yep.
And I can't be defeated from it. I just have to keep moving forward. That's the key. You got to keep moving forward.
So in your business right now, what are you struggling with currently?
Right now, keeping up. So right now, instead of drowning and then hiring, trying to project the new hires. So right now I just hired another person, and just consistently being obsessed with our process, being obsessed with, trying to get ahead of balls being dropped and the level of accountability. So that's really been something that I've had to consistently do every day.
Being a little more proactive is something that I think helps a ton. I know when I was leading HERG on my own, right, and failing, I was not as nearly as proactive in doing things. Brian has came in and implemented so many systems types things that has taken so much off of our plate. And I think every time, for me, whenever I'm able to get in a room with people I perceive further down the road from me and learn from them, probably like you did with Lance or even initially with Nick. I know that's exactly what I did with Nick. Like the first time I met him, I was just like, this guy's, who'd you say that about? Oh, no, it was, you were telling a story about when you had lunch.
We should use someone else's
with
example.
Russell Rhodes.
When you have lunch with Russell Rhodes.
His head's like getting like that.
You look at the guy and you're like, why are you telling me all this? And he's like, because you're probably not going to do anything with it because it's super complicated.
That stuck with me forever, man.
Yeah, all that is just mistakes.
So I was telling Matt earlier today, I had lunch with Russell Rhodes like 3 years ago, and it was supposed to be an hour-long deal, but we stayed for like 3 hours because that dude is so passionate. He just wouldn't shut up. We were both late to appointments after that. But at one point I was like, are you cool, like just unloading all of this on me? He was like, I will tell anybody anything they want to know about my business because 99% of them aren't going to do anything about it.
It's not even they're not going to do anything about it. It's the failure that leads to the wisdom.
Yeah, if they did, they'd fail.
It's either not taking action, and if they do, they quit.
Yeah, they would fail the first time, and they would say
midstream.
it doesn't work, and I'm special, and whatever.
Exactly.
Right?
What's funny is Josh. So Josh Deshong has been like, I've known him since back in the day, and so I consider him like a mentor because he's just like one of the smartest people I've ever met. Shout out, I'll tag him on this thing. But I remember the first time I ever met with him, and I was like, hey, I really want to pick your brain. And like, I'm the opposite. I'm an action taker, and to the point where it could be destructive because I just do it. So I'm the opposite. But I remember him telling me, he's like, I will only meet with you one time. And he's like, and if you don't do what I tell you to do, you can't come back. And that stuck with me. I was like, and so I remember when I came back, I was like, okay, I did this. And he's like, okay, I will talk to you whenever. And he had no problem. And that was the awesome thing about talking to these people that were on this whole other level is that no one ever had an issue with sharing their knowledge.
Yep.
Right.
And it was just this abundance mentality. And and if you did it, you realize like how amazing that opportunity, because I don't want to keep reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Like I want to learn from your failures. I want to learn that. And like Russell said, half the people don't even implement what or take advantage of that.
Yep.
People at that level are more offended by having their time wasted.
I would say,
Adam,
Well, that's
Adam
how he
literally
was.
schedules 15-minute meetings, and if the meeting starts to just go sideways over 10 minutes, he just gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
He's like, this is not a
Dude,
good use of my
hashtag
time.
goals.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
man.
that's
I won't
the
even
thing,
schedule the meeting, but
because
hashtag goals.
If
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
coming to look for a secret, you're probably in the wrong place.
You're gonna be disappointed.
right? You're gonna hear some real actionable steps. They're not gonna be easy, right?
The secret is it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
And that's a secret a lot of people don't want to find
Get
out.
off HGTV, guys.
And then just go out and do it, right?
Yeah.
So like
100%.
I mean, so all right, if you are a new agent or if you want to pick up a niche lead source, so let's just go down your path, right?
Sure.
So I want to get into short sales.
Okay.
Would you tell me to steer clear of that? Or if we're going to go down that path, what should an agent do in order to perfect it? Because a lot of agents will refer it to you, right? But let's say I want to become an expert. Do I work it myself and risk having that agent or that homeowner go to foreclosure?
Right. I would never steer anyone away from doing their own short sales because there's enough business for everyone. But I do think that you're doing a disservice to your client, like you said, and risking them going into foreclosure if you have no idea what you're doing. So as a starting point, you need to get as much education as possible, partner up, get a mentor or whatever. I have my book or whatever, but it doesn't even touch the surface. Like I have courses that are coming out that will go through that, but get as much education as possible because they're literally trusting you to facilitate the process. And if you're unsuccessful, they get foreclosed on. And so, if that's what you want to do. And really the best part about my book is that it actually gives you tactical, like real value, but you're either inspired by it. And then if you are, then awesome. You're going to be good at this. Or you're like, holy shit, Nicole, do you drink a lot? Like, are you on medication? Like, this is what you do, whatever. And so it's that concept of like, hey, start there and see if this is really something you want to take on. Not for the fact that you want to say you're an expert, but you actually want to do the work to do it. Because otherwise, if you're doing one short sale, I would never do this if I had 2 short sales. Like, that's stupid because it takes away from everything else. So if you have 1 short sale listing and then you have 3 buyers and 1 traditional listing, what do you think you're going to pay attention to? The ones that are going to close in 30 days, which means that you're not going to put in the time to get it moving. You're not going to, do your due diligence or whatever, and it'll never close. So if you're going to, do this and you want to be an expert, then I highly, encourage you to go out, get the information, partner up with someone, take a course, do whatever, but actually do that. Because otherwise, if you're just like, oh, hey, let's see what happens.
Yeah, it can't be
That's the worst thing that you can ever do. So,
for sure. Branding. It's been a huge part of, I think it's been a huge part of your ability to position yourself to take this nationwide, right?
Absolutely.
And those rules and things that you've done are probably relevant to just about anyone, right?
Right.
How did you go from Nicole Espinosa, that girl we know that specializes in short sales, to the short sale queen, which we have team members that didn't even know you were in our office who were running down to get your autograph yesterday.
Oh my gosh. That
dude
really
came
funny.
in and he was like, did you know the short sale queen is in our office? I was like, yeah, man, I've been knowing her for a long time.
And Nick's like, Nicole? Yeah.
It's just Nicole. But how did you develop this brand, right? And what tips can you give for anybody that wants to position themselves as an expert in anything in the real estate industry?
Absolutely. So I spent less time promoting myself and more time providing value. Like, honestly. I think a lot of times, feel like that's sales anyway. I think a lot of times people try to sell you like, oh, I want to, okay, let's go traditional. I want to list your house. Right. And people don't want to be sold to. So what do? Okay, well, you know what? Here, I think this would be better for you, for your house. I think this would happen. You know what I mean? And you're sitting here providing value where people are like, oh, like I trust you. You're building rapport. So I started teaching classes when I wrote my class, and to agents. I didn't charge.
Right.
Like I didn't do anything. It was my time, 2-hour class, and I had always said, use me as a resource. I never once asked for a referral. In my entire career, I've never asked for a referral. Agents to this day will call me and say, hey, so what do you think about the situation? No problem. Hey, do this, this, and this. Okay. And then when they come back and determine they can't, then they refer it over.
Right.
And so a lot of it was, here's the thing, consistency. How many times do we see people get up and be like, I'm a new build expert. And then next week they're like, I can help you buy your house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then they're like, I'm your listing person. And it's like, you're all over the place. And no one knows what you are. And so it's doing the same thing every single day and making sure that whatever you are specializing in, that you are being consistent with the content that you're putting out there. Social media has been a huge factor in that. I think that, my it's always been a relationship business. I kind of embraced the short sale queen because that was like, people on Facebook were like, oh, she's the short sale queen.
Right.
And when I was trying to figure out what to name it nationally, I was like, you know what? Like, And so I went to go trademark it, and I thought that it would already be taken, to be honest. And so anyway, so that was a huge factor into that. So I kind of just adapted to it. But a lot of it was a lot of years of building those relationships, and because word of mouth is really it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit here and we can self-validate, and I can go on Facebook and be like, I'm the best. But when other people are like, holy shit, like, you need to talk to Nicole, that's where it's at. And so, and here's the other key, and I'm going to say something that's going to blow your mind.
Hold on.
Whoa, everybody.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is everybody
Get your
ready?
pens out.
You ready?
All right.
This.
This is going to be huge, guys. Do what you said you're going to fucking do.
Oh my gosh. I
mean,
think we can end it on that. Just shut it down.
Right.
like,
Yeah.
seriously, because that's how I built my reputation.
Yeah.
I would rather not take business. I would rather give a commission. I would rather do whatever than ruin my reputation because I didn't fall through with it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's it. It's really simple.
I think the thing that people need to take away from that is coming from contribution and consistency, right?
Yep.
We're all worried about building this brand that we think we're going to sell to Berkshire Hathaway, right? Like you're going to be so amazing that they're going to come along, or your brand's so completely unique and specific that you can't get anybody to work under you,
Right.
Because they don't want to work under that brand, right? Like, the Good Home Team, that just happened to work out really well.
It really did.
But for most of us,
for everybody else, it's not a good last name like that.
Yeah, I mean, but instead of worrying about building the brand, get time on task, be consistent, come from contribution, and the brand will follow you around. You don't have to come up with your own brand. Who was that? Andre Rison's dumbass back in the day came up with his own nickname, the Spider-Man. You can't nickname yourself.
You can't
Get the
nickname
hell outta
yourself.
here, dude.
Stop.
Obviously, it didn't stick because I didn't even know that.
That's well, exactly.
Yeah. But
He's
that's-
been holding on to that for a while.
Exactly.
I'm
That's
going
been in his back
to use that
pocket.
for
Yeah.
20
Just
episodes,
talk to
baby.
somebody about Andre
All
Rison
day.
since we started doing this.
But that's the thing with brand new agents, though. Like, you ask them what they've been doing their first 3 months, and like, I built out a website. I had to get my brand. I had to get the right name. It's like, really?
Guys,
Yeah,
I did not have a website
yeah, and let me tell you that.
until like a year ago.
Yeah, and
serious.
be
That's
clear
serious.
about what a brand is, because that drives me crazy. And I'm really about my brand. Your name isn't your brand, and your logo isn't your brand. You're dumb if you think that. Stop it.
Yep.
Everybody has a
Yeah.
name, right? Your brand is what you do. Your brand, right? Like,
It's a huge revelation. Everybody has a name.
right? Your brand is what you do, right? So if I am a first-time homebuyer expert, what is my value proposition? What can I provide to you, right, that other agents cannot provide? And I could talk at 50 things off the top of my head, right? What do you know about every home buyer or down payment assistance grant program, right? First-time home buyer program, all that type of stuff, right? What can I bring to an appointment that sets me apart from somebody else as far as first-time home buyers, right? Same with VA loans, right? New builds, right? Listings in a particular neighborhood, right? What do I do better than anybody else in that market segment? How do I show it consistently every single day, right?
Absolutely.
That's how you just establish a brand. It's not your fucking logo on Fiverr.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not?
I paid this guy $25 on Fiverr for a
I
logo.
was going to say, I think we did our logo on Fiverr.
Yeah.
So we did.
Yeah. So obviously it works. All right. So if you could pick any different lead source to be your main source of business, what would it be?
If I could pick any,
Do you like the way the direction has gone? Obviously, I mean, it's going well, but let's go back in time. You're like in fast forward, and you would be successful in any other lead source. Would you choose to go down this path, or would you pick another source?
so I don't think I would have done anything different. I think the only thing I would have maybe changed is not try to do what I thought was successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times agents get in this business and they're like, I have to buy leads. I have to buy Zillow leads. I remember at the time, hopefully everybody get off that train, but whatever, it's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But I remember I used to pay Zillow leads. I used to do all this stuff for my team or whatever. And I was trying to do what I thought was a successful pipeline or whatever. And really what I understood was that everything I've done has been organic. So I need to stick to my skills. I need to stick to what works for me. And even though you can learn from other agents and teams on what works, it's never going to be the same because we're not the same. We don't have the same personalities. We don't do the same things. And so I think to answer your question, the only thing I would have done differently is stop trying to copy the other teams and the other way people were running their business and really stick to what works.
Yeah.
Because I think that as entrepreneurs, we me specifically, I always want to fix a problem. And so it's like, I don't want to monetize on what's working. Like, I want to fix this or add this. And it's like, no, I wish I would have gone harder with what was already working and gone, further with that.
So not the mobile home queen.
Right.
No.
No.
No, but that's such a good advice. Just whatever it is that you eventually end up going all in on when you become successful at it, just know ahead of time it's never going to work in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? If you abandon things, you're like, oh, that's just
Like
too. I'm going to do something.
everybody
Right? I promise you'll abandon everything. There is nothing that's worth doing that's going to be easy in the beginning, right? And so it doesn't matter what it is that your niche or whatever is going to be. You're going to suck at it for a while.
Yeah.
Like it's just how it is.
Absolutely.
I think new agents struggle with that so much, man. That finite amount of time. I say on the show all the time, that was my biggest thing. I got fed so much bullshit. And I thought I knew. Nick asked a really great question in the group the other day about if you could go back to your first year or something. I can't remember how he phrased it. What would you do differently? And I said, I would have quit waiting for people to come and save my ass.
Yeah.
Like, I was waiting so desperately for somebody to come along and be like, oh, no, dude, you're just doing this one tiny little thing wrong. Right? Like, let's tweak this and it'll be great. And I think so many agents are sitting there thinking that they're just this one little thing away from all of a sudden selling 20, 30 houses a year, and you're not, right? It's a whole lot of little stuff that builds up over time.
Yep.
Well, the business is tough, right? I mean, even here's the thing: you get to selling 200 houses, and you're like, oh, you're not happy there, because I guarantee you, when I was at 10 to 20, I'm like, I just need to sell 100.
Yeah.
Then you get to 200, it's like, this sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I want to
sell
get to that
1,000.
other guy. That guy's selling 700. How do I get to there? And then you start comparing yourself to them, and then you feel like a loser that you're not over there, and
And you're selling 200 houses.
and you can't figure out how to break that we're at, you're at a breaking point. How do you get above that?
Right.
You're like, I can't work any more hours.
Yeah.
I can't meet any more people. So what does that go? And then it's like your point, Nicole, where you have that breaking point of you need to hire the right people,
Absolutely.
right? So it's either you're going to just continue doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think that's called insanity.
I think it is.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. But, or you're going to tear it all down and rebuild it better.
And I did. It was
And it's
so
working.
painful.
And it's working.
But it's
And
working now.
but I've been thriving. I mean,
Yeah.
like since I did that and I really self-evaluated, it wasn't that I didn't have the ability to grow to where I was now. It's that I didn't have the capability because I am only one person.
Yeah.
And there's no way to grow the way I want to grow, do 80, 90, 100. I mean, at this point, it's like people are starting to lose, like, what's your name? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And you can't scale that way.
Yeah.
So I can't treat it the same way I was doing 20 to 30 listings.
Yeah.
And so changing that mindset, and I mean, that was huge.
Love it. All right, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your most irrational fear, and is it more embarrassing than Nick's? Fear of
Sweeping
villains that
brooms.
can be defeated with a broom.
That's what we need
That's
to know.
not, I mean,
I'm so
snakes?
confused right now. What?
Everybody's scared of snakes. A couple episodes ago, Nick defeated a venomous killer snake with a broom. And we
I'm
just
trying to
wanted
do
find
callbacks,
out.
No,
guys.
that was not what, here, it wasn't.
That's exactly what it was.
No, it wasn't. Like, I'll go back. Like, it was a broom, but it wasn't a broom. Like, Asher had this, like, toy thing.
It was a child's
No,
broom.
it's-
That
yeah.
doesn't
That's
make it
even
any
worse.
better. It's
Yeah.
even worse. It
And-
could be defeated with a child's broom.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's how small it
goodness.
was.
But look, it looked like a venomous copperhead snake.
Yeah.
Like,
A baby one.
and
Which
A baby
is,
one.
Here's
like,
the thing:
no,
babies means that there's parents, and
Yes.
the parents were waiting to come back.
Yes.
And
That's
so I
what it
wanted to
was.
send a message.
No, I hear you.
It's like a
I hear you.
hippopotamus. He just thought it was
Yes.
going to come charging out of
So-
the pool and bite him in half.
Elizabeth Austin, we'll have to answer this in the group. So go in the group. She asked, "Do you? What is it? But what would our answer be for each one of us if we had to choose a different lead source?" So we can answer that in the group since
Yeah,
we
we
are
will.
running out of time.
Yeah.
And Heather said it was not a broom, so I told you it was Asher's toy. So before I have
It's not
Matt,
making a good case. I don't know if that's better.
it's a snake. Burn it down. Before I have Matt take us out again, if you've been watching this live, drop some comments down below. I mean, Nicole's left us with a lot of great nuggets on really how to build around a niche. Hers is short sales, so take from that to build around your niche, and go and subscribe to our group or request to join in. Matt, tell us what it is because I screw it up every time.
I know, right?
And in that group, we are going to be releasing how to take 10 plus listings every month. We'll be doing a free.
We're going to drop a link. We're going to do a live webinar. So sign up for it. We're going to drop the link in the group probably tonight.
Yeah, probably tonight.
And I want to put Nicole on the spot one last time.
Sure.
You have short sale courses coming out.
I do.
So if, and I know we've already talked about this, so if you're in our group or watching this and listening to recording and you want to get Nicole's short sale courses, send us a message. We're going to work something out with her so we can get it out to our people. It's
Awesome.
going to cost some money, but we'll definitely promote
It'll
that.
be worth it. I mean, it's going to be like 2.5 hours, and it will literally walk you through the entire
Nice.
process. And it's going to be the only thing that you will ever, in regards to short sales, that it's actual tactical information. I mean, it's gonna be good.
The only short sales worth learning from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just keep the theme going.
Yes.
Where do they
Oh my
find,
gosh, that's my name in my new group.
Where do they find Boss Babes at? Where are you guys shooting that now?
Propelio.
Okay, so then go to Propelio TV and see you guys on
And
Boss Babes.
I will
Yeah.
be making an appearance tonight.
Yes.
Ooh.
So me and Elizabeth determined at first it was, hey, we're gonna only have women, like empowering women, and then we're like, okay, no, me and Elizabeth are the boss babes, so the guests it can be men.
So
Isn't that nice, right?
Yeah.
If we just said that, we're like, we're only doing dudes on this show.
Yeah.
People would be like, you
no,
dicks.
well, we did get in trouble for only having guys on for the longest time.
Yeah.
I
Now
mean,
we've had
That
double
wasn't
Boss
even
Babes on.
intentional.
So we've had both boss babes.
but that was
on.
the point, though, to showcase like the women, because in this space, it's a lot of powerful men,
That's
and you
true.
don't see a lot of women in those roles. So we were trying to show that. But
That's
yeah.
true.
And y'all's crew does it awesome. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thanks for
really good.
joining us today.
Absolutely.
It was
Thanks.
awesome. All right, Derek, take us out, my man.